This millionaire CEO never smiled until midnight. The secretary's song changed everything. The night was shrouded in mystery, thick with an air of anticipation that crackled like electricity. At the top of the gleaming sky tower, where dreams of wealth danced wildly and shadows loomed larger than life, a figure remained utterly motionless. Victor Hale, the CEO whose icy facade reflected years of unyielding power, had never entertained a single smile. Not once. Behind his expansive mahogany desk, a titan of industry, every day was a brooding monotony of numbers and negotiations. But tonight was different. The clock ticked slowly towards midnight, the pallid moonlight creeping in through the glass windows, casting ghostly patterns across the office floor. And just beyond the lavish trappings of wealth, the air held the scent of something more, something that hung heavy with secrets waiting to spill. It was said that he could hear the whispers of the walls, the echoes of every deal gone wrong. But here, in this very moment, something uncanny shimmered in the air, a sweet melody weaving through the silence, drawing Victor's attention from the abyss of paperwork to the source of this enchanting tune. His secretary, Lily, had a voice that could melt glaciers. She sang softly just out of view, her golden notes splashing against the cold, hard edges of Victor's world. He'd never really listened before, keeping his heart encased in glass. But tonight the melody crept into his chest, swirling with a warmth he hadn't felt in years. It was both haunting and uplifting, a siren's call of vulnerability that pierced through the dark of his soul. A flicker of something hope raced along his skin, and he fought it, squashing it down. But those notes were persistent, like waves relentlessly crashing against the shore of his resolve. The clock struck midnight, and with it, something shifted in the air. Suddenly, the lights flickered, the power surged, and for a brief moment, a ghostly figure appeared behind Victor, an illusion or a warning. He gasped, feeling his heart pound against his rib cage as if it were trying to escape. The whispers of the walls became demanding, the shadows danced, and the room swelled with unrecognizable energy that wrapped around him, suffocating and exhilarating all at once. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Victor steadied himself, forcing down the storm of emotions swirling inside him, he turned towards the voice. But instead of speaking, he found himself captivated by the vision of Lily, shrouded in a haunting glow, her eyes shimmering with unspoken fears and dreams. The ambience was thick with tension, and suddenly, he realized he was teetering on the edge of something colossal. Would he be the man who finally smiled, or would the darkness consume him as it had for so many years? Would this strange song lead to redemption, or was it merely the beginning of his downfall? Moments hung suspended in the charged atmosphere, and in that pivotal moment Victor understood. Everything was about to change. But what would it cost him? Victor's breath caught in his throat, silencing the chaotic thoughts that stormed through his mind. The world around him faded into the periphery. The only vivid reality was Lily's song and the strange connection that pulsed between them. He felt a warmth creeping into his chest, surprising him. Yet the cold weight of his past clung tightly to his heart. The shimmering glow around Lily flickered, and for an instant, he thought he saw something else, a glimpse of fear? No, it was something deeper. A longing, perhaps? He couldn't help but wonder what lay beneath the surface of her enchanting presence. "Victor," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper, unraveling the tension. "You don't have to hide from your emotions. Not tonight." Her words were a gentle push, urging him to let go of his sturdy armor. He opened his mouth to respond, but the sudden crash of thunder echoed outside, rattling the glass as rain began to beat down violently against the tower. The mood shifted sharply. The shadows around them deepened, wrapping Victor in a shroud of darkness. One moment of vulnerability was all it took to confront the fears he'd buried so long. If he allowed her words to pierce through, would he be able to face what came next? Anger surged through him, anger at himself, for feeling something untamed after years of suffocating numbness. Just then, the lights flickered again, this time plunging the room into darkness. The silence felt oppressive, stifling. Victor used the moment to steel himself, pushing back against the tide of emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. But as the air around them thickened, so did the weight of anxiety. Was it just his imagination, or was there something sinister prowling in the shadows? And then, just as quickly as the shadows consumed them, the lights burst back to life, revealing a scene so utterly ordinary: office papers strewn about, the dull hum of machinery filtering in, but it didn't feel ordinary at all. The sense of foreboding hung between them, palpable and electric. What just happened? He finally managed, his voice trembling slightly. The vulnerability was an unfamiliar sensation, and he wasn't sure if he liked it. Lily stepped closer, her eyes shining. Darkness can be terrifying, Victor, but it can also reveal what we truly desire. Look around. This is where you have to decide who you'll be. His heart raced as he considered the gravity of her statement. The sense of reality his high-rise filled with money and power felt trivial. The room held secrets, both his and hers. What lay beneath that charming visage? What skeletons danced in her closet? As if sensing his thoughts, she continued, "I can help you face it, but there are risks involved. The truth can be painful." Victor struggled to understand. The pull of her melody and the whirlwind notion of change clawed at him. Could he muster the courage to face not just his adoration for her music, but also the dark specter of his own past? Drowning in a vortex of regret and hope, he felt as if he were teetering on the edge of an abyss. Could he truly take the leap? Just as he opened his mouth to respond, the lights flickered again, this time casting ominous shadows along the walls. Before he could utter a word, a loud knock echoed from the door, breaking the fragile moment. The sound jolted him from his contemplation as dread coiled tightly around his chest. Who could be interrupting at this hour? With unresolved tension hanging in the air, Victor met Lily's gaze, their thoughts unspoken but tightly entwined. This was merely the beginning. They were on the precipice of something far beyond their control, and they both felt it. "What now?" Victor whispered, bracing for what lay ahead. "Whatever happens next, it will change everything," Lily replied. Determination lined her voice. Without hesitation, he strode towards the door, heart pounding in anticipation. Little did he know, tonight would reveal truths he was not prepared for, truths that would shatter the facade he built over the years. As the door swung open, Victor braced himself for the unknown that stared back at him, the air thick with promise and fear. What awaited him on the other side? Victor hesitated on the threshold, the door creaking open under his trembling hand. The hallway lay dimly lit, shadows clinging to the corners like whispers of ghosts. He peered into the gloom, anxiety prickling at the back of his neck. "Who is it?" he called out, forcing his voice to sound steady despite the hammering of his heart. No response. Only the unsettling sound of the rain pummeling the windows behind him, each drop a reminder of the storm brewing in his mind. Victor stepped forward cautiously, the soft tap of his shoes on the polished floor echoing eerily through the silence. He turned the corner and nearly collided with a figure standing just beyond the reach of the light. A woman, drenched, hair plastered to her face, her clothes clinging in a way that spoke of desperate urgency. "Help me," she gasped, her voice shaky. Recognition flickered in Victor's mind, but confusion took over. This wasn't just anyone. It was Jenna, a former colleague he hadn't thought of in years, and what had happened between them had been anything but pleasant. Memories flooded back. Heated arguments, betrayal, accusations that shattered their once friendly working relationship. "What are you doing here?" he spat, his voice harsh, fueled by surprise and the ghosts that clung to the past. "Victor, please, you have to trust me. I know things about Lily," she said, eyes wide and frantic, her hands shivering visibly as she reached for him. His gut twisted. The mere mention of Lily's name landed like a punch. What could Jenna possibly know that he didn't? The feeling of foreboding returned, palpable as heat in the oppressive air. "Stay back," he warned, adrenaline racing through his veins. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "I do," she insisted, stepping closer despite his warning. "And it's not safe for either of you." Something in her tone shifted the ground beneath him. There was a tremor of urgency that felt genuine, a spark that started to ignite Victor's curiosity. The tension in his chest eased, if only slightly. "What do you mean?" "The deal what you were involved in, it's way bigger than you think. There are people looking for her. And for you," Jenna said, her eyes darting down the hallway as if expecting shadows to spring from the walls. No, this is absurd. You're just trying to stir up old drama. I don't want anything to do with you." His words sounded defensive even to his own ears, but the weight of her urgency pressed on him. With a sudden burst of boldness, she grabbed his arm, pulling him back toward her, desperation etched on her face. "You have to listen. Lily isn't who you think she is. She is in danger, Victor. Everything you feel, these moments you share, they go deeper than you realize. You have to protect her." From beyond the door, he could hear the faint tremor of Lily's music, the haunting melody that had wrapped around him like a loving embrace. Her song was like a siren call, beckoning him back to what felt like home, but he couldn't ignore Jenna's warning. Something twisted deep inside him, a mix of conflict and instinct, tugging at his heart. "Why should I believe you? I came here with the intention to save you both. If not for old time's sake, then for your own safety," Jenna pressed, her grip tightening. "There's a reason why I'm back. And I have to show you. Now." Something flickered in Victor's mind. The tension in the air thickened, the uncertainty burying into his consciousness. Could he trust Jenna after everything? His instincts screamed at him to close the door and leave her behind. But he could also see the open sky reflected in her eyes, a sky cluttered with storm clouds. With a deep breath, he moved past the threshold and closed the distance between them. "Fine. You have 5 minutes to explain. But if you're lying, I'm not. Promise." Her voice steadied, but the fear still danced behind her gaze. Outside, thunder rolled ominously as Victor sensed the coming storm, both within and outside. The night was unraveling fast, and uncertain shadows loomed large. The choices he faced could lead to salvation or disaster. Let's go." As they raced down the hallway, Victor couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them on the other side would change everything. They were all tangled in a web far more complex than he had ever imagined. What shadows lingered behind the melody of Lily's voice? Victor sprinted alongside Jenna, their feet pattering against the wooden planks, each echo stretching in the stillness like a warning siren. The corridors twisted and turned as if the house itself were resisting their escape, shadows warping around them like wraiths. "Where are we going?" Victor shot over his shoulder, a growing sense of dread pooling in his stomach. The tension in Jenna's voice had tugged at him, igniting some small ember of concern for Lily. But the more they ran, the more the conditions of his betrayal to Jenna clawed at his mind. "To the basement. It's where I can show you," she panted, urgency lacing her tone. With every swift step, Victor felt the walls close in on him as if the house were conspiring against them. "Why the hell would I trust you?" he barked, unwilling to let her grab hold of his trust so easily, unsure if he was ready to drown in the quagmire of their shared past. "Because I'm trying to save your life. And Lily's too." She snapped back, her eyes shining in the faint light. "They're coming for you both. We don't have time." His heart raced faster. The notion of someone out there, hunting them, made the room spin. "What do you know about her? About the deal?" Victor hesitated, his instincts at war. Part of him wanted to flee back to the surface, to find Lily hidden away in their safe little world. But another part of him was dying to understand the truth throbbing beneath the shadows. "I can't explain everything here. Just trust me." They reached the door to the basement, its old wood splintered and barely hanging on its rusty hinges. Jenna flung it open, and the musty air rushed out like a wave, filled with the scent of damp earth and decay. Victor hesitated at the threshold, instinctively gripping the frame of the door as a chill swept through him. How do I know you're not leading me into a trap? For a moment, Jenna's expression faltered, and Victor caught a glimpse of the pain behind her eyes. Because if I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it a long time ago. Can't you see? I didn't come for revenge. I came to help. Somewhere deep within him, he felt the echo of her sincerity. It stirred something long buried, and after a heartbeat of battling doubt, Victor stepped over the threshold. The darkness enveloped them. The only sound was the crackle of distant thunder and the water dripping somewhere in the shadows, syncing with the frantic rhythm of Victor's heart. Where's the light? He whispered, feeling his way through an invisible web of trepidation. Just a moment. Jenna's voice trembled slightly as she fumbled with a flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom like a sword. Shadows danced across the walls, revealing storage boxes, forgotten memories draped in dust. Jenna, tell me why you're really here, he pressed, feeling the weight of necessity pressing down. There are files that can explain everything, she said hastily, searching through the boxes. Lily's identity, it's all linked to the deal you were part of. Someone else trying to exploit her. Victor's stomach dropped. His voice cracked. Exploit her? How? Why? Jenna's hands paused. It's complicated. It all comes back to the music, Victor. You have to understand, Lily holds a secret. A power that's dangerous. And someone wants to control that. Panic surged as her words hung in the air, creating a suffocating layer of fear. If Lily was somehow involved in something dangerous, what had he stumbled into while lost in the melody of her voice? Lily isn't just your girlfriend, Jenna added quietly, the flashlight flickering as it illuminated a crumpled manila folder. She's more significant than you realize. The rain lashed against the basement window, a relentless hammer of sound, drowning out the thoughts spiraling through Victor's mind. Show me. Jenna handed him the folder, urgency flashing behind her eyes. You need to see this now. As Victor ripped open the folder, his heart thundered in his chest. The papers inside whispered secrets that could change everything he believed, and the flicker of hope mixed with fear. But just as he began to grasp the weight of the revelations, a loud crash echoed through the house. Footsteps thundered from above. Victor, Jenna gasped, her eyes widening in terror as they both realized they were no longer alone. Who was it that had come for them? And would he uncover the truth before it swallowed them whole? Victor's heart raced as adrenaline surged through him. The door to the basement creaked ominously in response to the thunderous footsteps above. Fear twisted in his gut. Jenna, he whispered hoarsely. What do we do? Her frantic gaze darted around the dimly lit room, landing on a narrow passageway behind a stack of old crates. We need to hide. If they find us here, she didn't finish the thought. Victor nodded, and they scrambled toward the shadows, squeezing between the boxes. The musty air clawed at his throat, but there was no time to panic. He could feel the vibrations of heavy boots through the floorboards, growing louder, closer. With every step, he wondered who or what was stalking them. From their dark refuge, the narrow beam of Jenna's flashlight illuminated the faces of old records piled against the wall, their covers faded and forgotten. Each crackle of wood overhead sent chills racing up his spine. Memories of softer moments with Lily flickered in his mind, grounding him amongst the terror. What was happening? The footsteps stopped just above them. A thick silence wrapped around the basement, intensifying the tension. Victor strained to hear a voice, anything to give him a clue. Search the basement. She has to be down there. The shout sliced through the silence, heavy with authority. Who are they? Victor hissed, panic tightening his throat. Jenna's face contorted with fear as she pressed a finger to her lips. I don't know, but they want Lily. That's all I know. And they will stop at nothing. Victor clenched the manila folder in his hands, filled with a dread that penetrated deeper than he could express. Every inch of him screamed to break away, to leave the secrets behind. Yet here he was, trapped in a web of lies surrounding Lily, flanked by the very ghost of his past. Then, there was a sound, heavy footsteps descending the rickety basement stairs. Victor's breath hitched. He felt Jenna's warmth close beside him, but the icy knot of fear told him they needed to make a choice now. Jenna's eyes darted back toward the passage. We can slip through. It's our only chance. Are you sure? No time for doubts, she whispered urgently. Go. Victor nodded, instinctively grabbing her hand as they slipped into the passage, their hearts pounding in sync. As they crawled through the dark, the scent of mildew surrounded them, causing his mind to race with memories of happier times. They emerged on the other side, into a cramped storage room filled with cobwebs, a forgotten corner of the house. But still, they were stuck. Where now? Victor murmured, peering through a small window. An overgrown garden lay outside, wild and unkempt. But the more pressing concern was the sound of footsteps creeping closer. They might check this room next, Jenna whispered. Do you see anything we can use? A shining object caught Victor's eye. An old gardening spade leaned against the wall. He edged closer, thoughts racing. If they were caught, it would be far worse than the unknown threat lurking in those steps. Just as Victor grabbed it, the door swung open, and a flashlight beam flooded the room. Clear. A voice barked from the entrance. Jenna's eyes widened, and without thinking, Victor aimed the spade at the intruder, adrenaline firing his instincts. The voice felt like ice running through his veins, but just as he was ready to act, footsteps thudded again upstairs. Go. Now, Jenna urged, tugging at his arm, reminding him they had to escape. Victor's mind swirled with conflicting choices: the spade, Lily, the truth in the folder, and the decision to put self-preservation first clawed at his conscience. Then, an alarm echoed through the halls, sounding like the world was about to collapse. Victor, Jenna shouted, cementing his resolve. With another look at the door, he made a split-second decision. They had to take the risk and run. As they darted past the threshold together, the world outside loomed, both ominous and full of potential. But then, just as they reached the edge of the doorframe, screeches erupted from the house behind them, hunters closing in. The darkness of the night enveloped them. But was it a true escape, or the beginning of a chase? Would they make it to safety? The knife edge of fate loomed, and Victor knew they were running straight into the unknown. They raced through the overgrown garden, branches clawing at their clothes like skeletal fingers, each scrape a warning of what lay ahead. The air thickened with the scent of wet earth and fear pulsing in Victor's veins. Behind them, a door slammed, echoing ominously through the night, followed by the shouts of the hunters, their voices mingling with the unsettling howl of the wind. Where do we go? Victor gasped, panting heavily as he stumbled over a rooted earth, struggling to keep up with Jenna. Over there. Jenna pointed towards a dense thicket, shadows dancing menacingly in the dim light of her flashlight. We can hide there. They dove into the thicket, the underbrush swallowing them whole. Victor felt the prick of thorns on his skin, but they pressed on, hearts hammering as the sound of their pursuers drew near. The oppressive darkness cocooned them, and for a moment, the world outside dissolved into an eerie silence. Do you think they saw us? Jenna whispered, her breath hitching in her throat. I don't know, Victor replied, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. What did they want? The thought of Lily twisted like a knife in his heart, urging him to act fast, to find her. Jenna's expression turned grim. We have to find a way to contact her before it's too late. Suddenly, the crack of a branch snapped Victor from his thoughts. His body tensed as he strained to listen. The hunters were getting closer, their voices growing more frantic, more aggressive. I swear she was here. Keep looking. The authoritative shout echoed, scraping along Victor's skin like nails on a chalkboard. Panic bubbled inside him. They were running out of time. Are you all right? Jenna asked, her eyes scanning him for signs of control. I'm fine, he lied, swallowing the fear clawing at his chest. He wasn't fine at all. The pressure of the manila folder weighed like lead in his pocket. If they could just get to his car, it was such a small hope in a dark world filled with dread. This way. With a sudden pull, Jenna surged forward, leading Victor away from the thicket and towards a narrow clearing that threaded through the tangled underbrush. What if they're waiting there? Victor hissed, hesitating. We have no choice, Jenna insisted, desperation tightening her voice. We need to keep moving. To his surprise, they broke into the clearing and found the remnants of an old garden shed. Despite the broken windows and peeling paint, it stood like a small sanctuary in the chaos. "Quick! Inside!" Jenna urged, her voice trembling. They slipped into the shed just as a shout rang out behind them, echoing through the night. The heavy footsteps thundering closer set Victor's teeth on edge. Closing the door with a soft thud, they huddled in the dark, their breaths mingling, minds racing. "What's in the folder?" Jenna whispered, tension drawing her brows together. Victor hesitated. Words struggled to escape his lips, but the fear of the truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "It has everything." "About Lily?" "About what?" She pressed, her eyes wide with urgency. "About her past and why they want her." He didn't want to say the words out loud, but the truth clawed at him like the thorny branches outside. Just then, the door rattled violently, shadows shifting just beyond the wood. Victor felt a jolt of terror. "They're here." In the fray of muffled curses and clamoring feet, Victor knew they had to act fast. He couldn't let the truth die buried alongside them. "Jenna, we either stand and fight or make a run for it. I can't lose you too." The desperation in his voice cut through the darkness. Jenna's resolve hardened as she met his gaze. "Then let us make this count." With hearts pounding, they prepared for the confrontation. Their fate hung by a thread. Would they uncover the truth, or would the shadows consume them whole? As the door creaked open, revealing dark silhouettes against the faint light of the moon, Victor took a deep breath. The moment had come. The door swung open, groaning like a wounded animal, and the silhouettes advanced, blurring the boundary between hunter and hunted. Victor gripped the folder tightly, the contents pressing into his fingers like a warning. A low gasp escaped Jenna's lips as she shrank against the wall, trying to make herself as small as possible. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice trembling like the fragile branches outside. Victor's mind raced. "We wait for the right moment," he said, his heart pounding in tandem with the footsteps. He could see their shadows shift, dark shapes searching. Lily has to be safe, Victor thought desperately. The folder contained secrets that could shatter lives, yet also save them. If only he could decipher it before they were caught. The muffled curses from the hunters coiled around them, tightening like a noose. "Show me where you are," a voice drawled, dripping with malice. "You can't hide from us forever." Victor's stomach twisted. He could barely see the flickers of light cutting through the cracks in the shed's walls, but the dread was tangible. Whatever plans they had, the hunters were closing in. Jenna's fingers brushed against his. "What if we distract them? Maybe we can slip out the back. What if they catch us?" He shook his head, eyes darting to where the spiders danced in their webs, dark reminders of entrapment. They had to be smarter than that. "Just trust me," Jenna insisted, determination igniting a spark in her eyes. "We have to at least try, right?" The footsteps began shifting, moving away from the door. "Search every inch of this place. They can't get far." Victor's heart raced. It was now or never. "After 3 we bolt," he whispered, counting down. Jenna nodded, fear brimming in her gaze. 1, 2 with all the strength they could muster. They flung the door open and dashed into the night, instinctively running toward a path that curved around the shed. "Over there," Jenna shouted, spotting a faint outline of what seemed like a vehicle on the far side of the clearing. Was it his car? Victor didn't know. Forcing himself to focus, he bolted ahead, adrenaline propelling him forward. Then, a shout interrupted their escape. "They're outside." The hunters' voices echoed, panic surging through Victor as the footsteps thudded behind them again. "Faster!" Victor yelled, each footfall pounding against the ground, their breaths coming in sharp, desperate gasps as they stumbled towards the vehicle. The clearing was alive with shadows, the world a blur as fear clawed at their heels. Jenna skidded to a halt, her eyes wide with realization. "It's not your car, it's a service truck." "Damn it!" Victor cursed, but there was no time. They had to get inside or they would be trapped. They lunged toward the truck, the metal gleaming ominously beneath the moonlight. "Look for a key," Jenna shouted, already scrambling for the door handle, but it was locked tight. "I've got it." Victor fumbled in his pocket, fingers clenching the small set of keys he'd almost forgotten. The sound of hurried footsteps split the air behind them. Victor's heart thundered. He punched the key into the lock, and with a heavy clank, the door swung open. They dove inside, slamming the door shut behind them. As they panted in the suffocating atmosphere of the truck, Jenna turned to him. "What now? We can't just sit here." The keys trembled in Victor's hands, uncertainty raging within him. "We have to start it and get out of here." He fumbled in the dark, the various buttons and systems alien to him. He inserted the key, a prayer echoing in his mind. But before he could turn it, a heavy knock rattled the door. "Get out now, you little rats. You can't hide forever." The hunters' voices thundered like an impending storm, sending chills down Victor's spine. Jenna's eyes were wide with horror. "They'll break in. Then we fight," Victor blurted, wild desperation igniting courage within him. But as he turned the key, the truck lit up. What did that mean? A blaring horn erupted, cutting through the threat like a knife. Startled, the shadows hesitated. But Victor knew time was running. They were cornered, and he could feel the adrenaline roaring like a wildfire. "Jenna, on three." He breathed deeply, panic mingling with fierce determination. "We push through. We won't be trapped here." As he turned the key and the engine roared to life, the truck jerked forward, and with it the stakes skyrocketed. They were in the middle of a race against fate. What awaited them on the other side of the clearing? Would freedom come at a cost, or would the shadows swallow them whole? The truck lurched forward, the engine roaring angrily like a beast unleashed. Victor's fingers gripped the steering wheel as he navigated through the clearing, the illuminated dashboard creating a stark contrast against the enveloping darkness. The hunters' furious shouts faded into the night behind them, but that didn't mean they were out of danger. "Did they follow us?" Jenna asked, her breath hitching as she cast frantic glances through the smoky windows. "I don't know," Victor replied, his heart racing far beyond what was deemed safe. He wrenched the steering wheel, the tires screeching on the wet ground. The truck shot forward, adrenaline pumping through his veins, but fear clawed at the edges of his resolve. "Where are we going?" Jenna's voice trembled, pressing her palms against the dashboard, as if it could help ground them amid the chaos. "I don't know. Away. Just away," Victor shouted, desperation pouring out with every breath. He tore down the twisting road, trees blurring past like spirits in the night, shadows shifting in his periphery. Suddenly, the headlights caught a flash of movement on the side of the road. A figure stumbled into view, a woman, her silhouette trembling, hands raised in a desperate plea for help. It was Lily. Victor's heart twisted painfully at the sight. "We can't leave her. Victor, we don't have time." Jenna screamed, fear wrapping around her words like a vice. But Victor was already slamming on the brakes, the truck protesting loudly as it came to an abrupt halt. Before Jenna could react, he flung the door open and bolted toward Lily, who was now stumbling toward him. "Get in. Hurry," he shouted, glancing back at the darkness. The hunters could be right behind them. Lily flinched slightly but sprinted the last few steps, frantically climbing into the cab. Just as Victor was about to close the door, he caught sight of movement in the shadows. A pair of figures were emerging at the edge of the forest, weapons gleaming under the moon's cruel gaze. "Get down," he shouted, hopping back into the driver's seat and slamming the door just as the crack of a gunshot echoed in the air. A bullet ricocheted off the hood of the truck, sending a shower of metal fragments flying. Jenna shrieked, and Victor felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on his chest. "Hold tight." With a surge of instinct, he slammed the truck into gear, the engine roaring as he floored the accelerator. The tires spun momentarily, struggling against the muddy ground. But then they found traction, propelling them forward just as another shot rang out. "We have to lose them," Victor shouted, darting down the narrow path that dissected the woods. Branches lashed against the sides of the truck like skeletal fingers trying to grasp them. But he kept his foot pressed down, the world transforming into a dark blur around them. Lily gripped the back of the seat, wide-eyed. I thought you were dead." "Not yet," Victor shot back, his voice taut with determination. "We just need to get away and figure out a plan." The truck rocked violently as he swerved to avoid a tree. The woods opened up ahead, revealing a hill that descended into a valley. Felt wrong, but it was their best shot. "Victor, watch out," Jenna yelled, pointing ahead. An old sign flickered in the barely there light, warning of a steep drop. Victor's heart sank as he realized he was barreling toward it. In a split second, he jerked the wheel to the right, sending the truck careening off the road. The tires skidded on gravel before they struck something hard. The world tilted, and they were suddenly airborne, weightless for an agonizing moment. Then the truck hit the ground with a bone-shaking crash. The impact sent them jerking against their seatbelts as the metal groaned in protest, groaning under the strain, but the engine still roared defiantly. Panting, Victor forced himself to focus, scanning their surroundings. They were still alive, but how long until the hunters discovered their trail? "Are you all okay?" Jenna asked, her voice shaky but steady. "We need to move," Victor urged, glancing at Lily. "We can't wait here." As they climbed out of the cab, Victor's heart sank. The darkened road stretched endlessly before them, so vast, yet so isolating. Was there a chance of escape, or were they only prolonging the inevitable? Before they could start their next move, a low growl rumbled through the night, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps approaching. Victor's gut twisted once more as a familiar sense of danger settled in. The hunters, Lily whispered, each syllable thick with dread. "Run!" Victor yelled, choosing survival over hesitation. But would they truly escape the shadows that sought them? And even if they did, what lay beyond the night? They didn't know where to go, but they had no choice but to push forward into the unknown. Adrenaline coursed through Victor's veins as he glanced back at the looming shadows that quickly gained on them. With fear gripping him tight, he pushed Jenna and Lily ahead. "This way," he barked, heading deeper into the woods. The underbrush tore at their legs, but they pressed on, every heartbeat echoing with urgency and desperation. Branches whipped against their skin, each snap a reminder that they were not alone. A low snarl reverberated through the air, mingling with the rustle of leaves in frantic terror. Victor pushed himself faster, his lungs burning, fighting to keep the panic at bay. There was no room for fear now. Survival was the only thought on his mind. "Where are we going?" Jenna gasped, her voice trembling as she stumbled over a rock, falling momentarily behind. "Anywhere but here," he shouted over his shoulder, heart hammering as he felt the tension in the air sharpen. He took a quick glance back. The hunters were closer now, their features barely illuminated by the moonlight, cold and focused. Suddenly, Lily collided with him, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "I saw a clearing a little ways back. We need to find it," she urged, eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. "Let us go. Lead the way," Victor replied, following her as she angled off to the left, away from the hunter's path. The forest grew thicker, shadows tugging at them, as if the very woods were trying to swallow them whole. The growling faded slightly, but he could feel the hunter's intent, smell their eagerness for the prey that they believed was so close. It wasn't enough just to outrun them. They needed a plan. Their breaths echoed in the quiet night, punctuated only by the sound of their pounding hearts. Finally, they broke into a clearing illuminated by the pale moon. The open space felt like a trap, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. Victor glanced around. High grass encircled the area like a fortress, but it also provided no hiding spots. His chest tightened with dread. "Now what?" Jenna wheezed, scanning the edges of the clearing. "Shoo!" Victor hissed, holding up a hand to silence them. He crouched low, straining to hear. The growls had shifted to hushed whispers, raw, personal conversations that prickled the back of his neck. "We need to lay low. They're nearby," he whispered, urging them to crouch behind a dense cluster of bushes. In that tense silence, Victor's mind raced. He was responsible for these two lives now. It was shocking how quickly the responsibility had shifted, had consumed him. A million scenarios played out in his mind, each ending worse than the last. His only focus was keeping them safe. But then a glimmer caught his eye, a rusted metal shed at the far end of the clearing. Hope ignited within him. There, he pointed. We can hide in there. No, we can't just run out in the open, Jenna protested, her voice shaky. It's our best shot. We have to move now before they find us. Victor insisted, the urgency of the moment suffocating. With a signal, he took the lead, sprinting toward the shed. The wood creaked ominously as they pushed through the door, sending dust spiraling into the musty air. Darkness enveloped them, the metallic scent of rust biting at their senses. Shadows loomed around them, thick and impenetrable. Did we lose them? Lily breathed out, trembling. Victor leaned against the wall, heart racing as he tried to listen. Silence fell, almost comforting, but it was too soon to let their guards down. Then the door rattled violently, splintering the moment of calm. A wicked laugh echoed from outside, slicing through the silence like a knife. You can run, but you can't hide. A deep voice taunted, sending chills down Victor's spine. His heart hammered wildly as panic surged within him. They had to act, and fast. We need to find another way out. Now, as adrenaline surged through him again, he pushed past the dread gripping him. If they were going to survive this night, they had to be clever. A bunker against the hunt was no longer a refuge. It was the stage for a confrontation. What would they do next? Would the darkness consume them, or could they turn the tables on their pursuers? Victor's mind raced as they prepared to make their fateful move. Victor felt the weight of the world pressing down on him as his thoughts whirled in chaos. The voice from outside, a deep, mocking growl, was enough to snap him into action. We have to find a way out of here now, he said urgently, glancing around the small shed. Shadows bounced off the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that clung to him. The rusting hinges of the door creaked ominously, reminding him of the hunter's intentions. They couldn't stay here any longer. Jenna, look around for any back exits. Lily, stay close, he instructed, his voice steady, fighting the instinct to panic. The three of them moved swiftly, scanning the dim corners of the dusty room. Every noise felt amplified, each thump of their hearts a reminder of the danger at their heels. A tiny window near the ceiling caught Victor's eye. It was barely a gap, but a flicker of hope ignited within him. That window. If we can get up there, Jenna struggled to suppress her fear. What if they see us? We could get trapped. It's better than waiting here to be hunted down. We can't be their prey, he retorted, teeth gritted. Adrenaline coursed through him, and he felt a surge of urgency. With a nod from Lily, he hoisted her up first. Go, Lily. We'll follow, he urged. She pushed through, her hands gripping the edge as she pulled herself up. Victor and Jenna exchanged glances, the unspoken understanding clear. They had to get out. Come on, Victor said, urging Jenna forward. She climbed onto his shoulders, straining for the edge of the window. Higher, he grunted, feeling the weight of dread in his stomach. Just as Jenna reached for Lily's hand, there was a loud crash behind them. The door burst open, and the hunters charged in, eyes wild with fury. Found you, a deep voice snarled, and panic erupted like wildfire. Jenna, go, Victor shouted, pushing her up toward the window. She scrambled out, and Lily offered her a hand. Victor turned at the noise, fists balled and heart racing. The hunters were closing in fast. Don't stop, he yelled, shoving Jenna's back as she landed on the ground outside. Catch her. Time slowed as Jenna fell, stretching out her arms. Lily grabbed her, pulling her to safety. But now Victor was alone, facing the looming figures. Victor, hurry, Jenna's voice called, her eyes wide with terror. He took a quick look back, weighing his options. Everything he had fought for, every moment with Lily, flashed before him. He could not let fear control him, not now. Summoning every ounce of strength, Victor dashed towards the window. Victor, Lily screamed. With a final push, he leapt, arms stretching out as he felt a sharp pain in his side as he barely squeezed through. The hunter's shouts thundered behind him, the crushing weight of their anger suffocating. Victor landed hard, rolling to break his fall. "Get up," he shouted, scrambling to his feet. The three of them raced toward the cover of the trees, breaths short and hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. "We need to find a safe place," Jenna cried, glancing over her shoulder. "There's an old cabin a few miles up," Lily suggested, her voice shaking but resolute. "Lead the way," Victor urged, not daring to look back. The woods lifted them, concealing their flight with the thick cloak of night. As they ran deeper into the forest, the sounds of their pursuers faded slowly, yet the nightmares of tonight lingered close. Moments passed, leaving them gasping for air, legs burning under the pressure of survival. When they finally reached the cabin, it was little more than a skeleton of wood, worn down by years of abandonment. But it was shelter. "Get inside," Victor urged, pushing the door open. They stumbled in, breathless and shaken. Tension still thrummed in the air, and the thought of being hunted clawed at their minds. They barricaded the door, but the sense of dread didn't lift. It only deepened. "What do we do now?" Jenna asked, her fear rising like smoke. Victor grabbed the folder from his pocket, spreading the papers out on the dusty table. "We find out who Lily truly is," he breathed, scanning the documents that revealed layers of deception. "We're not safe yet," Lily said, her voice reflecting the cloud of dread hovering. "They'll find us even here. But we're together," Victor insisted, eyes meeting hers with unbreakable resolve. "And together we can face whatever comes next." In that moment he grasped her hand firmly. She squeezed back, warmth igniting between them. As the moments ticked by, each silence absorbed their fears until finally, the door rattled again, the sound distant, yet ominous. Jenna held her breath as shadows passed outside. Would the hunters find them again? Then, a sudden thought surged in Victor's mind. "If we confront them, if we reveal the truth, we can stop this." "The truth," Lily whispered, realization dawning. "We need to face them together." Victor's heart swelled with conviction. Together we can turn the tide. No more running. A unified resolve settled between them, igniting a spark of courage against the shadows closing in. And as the echoes of their pursuers grew louder, they prepared to step into the light or darkness of the truth that awaited them. With unity as their armor, they were ready. Now it was time to fight back. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. And if you know the importance of backing up this incredible journey, don't wait even one more second to share.